over 3 centuries, the historic picturesque town of Stellenbosch has been at the heart of South Africa's quality wine industry. Since the 17th century, when the early European settlers first planted vines on the sun-drenched foothills of the Western Cape's vast mountain ranges, generations have been producing outstanding wines in Stellenbosch. If you want to see and learn more about the famous Cape wines, Stellenbosch is the ideal base to begin exploring the winelands. And no trip to the Cape is complete without a day visit or indeed an extended stay. Hundreds of charming wine estates are open to the public for you to discover one by one. Many retain their original old Cape Dutch farmstead architecture, unique to the Cape, set in breathtaking surroundings. A beautiful region of impressive mountains and rolling hills, it is the best place for wine lovers who can enjoy tastings of South Africa's award-winning wines or take part in guided cellar tours. But there is a lot more for visitors than just vineyards in Stellenbosch. To begin with, the town itself invites casual exploration. Dappled avenues of 3 centuries-old oaks are the defining feature of this attractive town. Historic street frontages, pavement cafes, water ducts, and a European-style town layout centered on the Braak, a large village green, add up to an attractive urban environment. Hiking, nature reserves, golf, mountaineering, health spa facilities and culture are among the other attractions of this region. Stellenbosch is also home to South Africa's most prestigious university, a historic seat of learning and culture. And the town breathes a satisfying, elegant, collegiate atmosphere. The Stellenbosch winelands are surprisingly close to Cape Town, approximately 45 kilometers east of the mother city, making it an easily accessible day trip destination. The stately, confident yet appealingly simple architecture and design of many of the town centre's whitewashed homesteads and public buildings date back to the Cape Dutch style, which reminds us of an older age of architectural simplicity combined with practical function. Many of the town's existing historic buildings are from the 18th and 19th centuries and display a more ornate style as farmers become increasingly prosperous. Examples of this colonial Dutch architecture, featuring finely designed gables, thick walls and thatched roofs, have been preserved and retained in Stellenbosch to a degree that cannot be found anywhere else in the Western Cape. Dorp Street can boast the longest unspoilt row of preserved historical buildings of any town in the country. Walking around the streets of Stellenbosch gives you the haunting impression that you've literally stepped back in time. Back to a frontier age of farmers and wealthy merchants, laborers, humble workers, and their wealthy paymasters. Some of the old streets of Stellenbosch have small irrigation channels sunk in on either side, such as the one shown here. In the past, these were used to water gardens, as each householder had a time slot in which to divert the town's irrigation system into their plot of land. Step back in history through the doors of Oom Sami se Winkel, Uncle Sam's general store. It's a fascinating and bizarre experience. A cross between a museum illustrating life as it was over a century ago and a shop, it still is a real trading store, you can explore endlessly the everyday household items and goods used by the families of Stellenbosch in an older age. A kind of 150-year-old mini-market of life in the 19th century. Oom Sami se Winkel has remained the same in its every detail since it first opened a century and a half ago, and offers a glimpse into the days when such shops had to provide all the requirements for their communities. Mind you don't bump your head on a copper kettle or some dried fish. Back in real time again in the 21st century. You will find that Stellenbosch is a very pleasant place to relax. You can soak up the tranquil atmosphere in numerous bars, cafes and restaurants. Being a premier tourist destination, there is a more than abundant selection of places to eat and drink, catering for a wide range of tastes, from unpretentious street cafes to some of South Africa's best a la carte restaurants. And don't forget that most of the larger wine estates have their own in-house restaurants. Some have several, so you can continue eating and drinking in situ. Stellenbosch has a well-established arts and crafts community, and you will find regular street markets throughout the year, like this one selling traditional African products such as bok hides, ostrich feather items, and handmade crafts. And don't forget the wine. Stellenbosch has a number of wine merchants in the town centre who will arrange shipping your wine back home. For more information about your stay in Stellenbosch and to pick up a handy selection of guides and maps to the wine estates and the town, be sure to visit the Stellenbosch Tourism Information Bureau on Market Street. The Information Bureau should be your first point of contact if you wish to arrange accommodation in Stellenbosch. In and around the Braak, the village green in the town centre, is a selection of old buildings, churches and museums. These are gems that need to be seen to help make sense of Stellenbosch's history as a colonial frontier town. They include VOC Kruithuis, 1777. This gunpowder magazine and arsenal has survived from the days when the Cape Colony was owned and governed by the Dutch East India Company, Verenigde Oost-Indisch Compagnie, or VOC. It is now a museum that has a collection of military items from the history of Stellenbosch, including a collection of 17th century cannon. The handsome neo-Gothic Mother Church, Moederkerk, is so named as it is the religious home of South Africa's second oldest Dutch Reformed Church congregation and is central to Stellenbosch's founding communities. The original church burnt down in 1710, it was rebuilt in 1722, enlarged in 1814, and completed in the form that we see it in today in 1863 by German architect Karl Otto Haggard. The thatched church of St. Mary is an Anglican church dating from 1852, a symbol of Stellenbosch's and indeed the Cape's eclectic Protestant founding communities. The Stellenbosch Village Museum, comprising 4 restored 18th century houses, each representing a different period in the development of Stellenbosch, provides a snapshot of life into the early European colonial development of the Western Cape. Burgerhuis, 1797, a private dwelling built in 1797 by Antony Fick, the grandson of a German immigrant. It is a good example of the Cape Dutch style of architecture and recalls an elegant, refined way of life from the 17th and 18th centuries. Jan Marais Nature Reserve. This is a delightful fynbos sanctuary where indigenous plants from the Cape Floral Kingdom are nurtured and preserved. Stellenbosch is indeed a fascinating historical, cultural and academic town. But by far and away, it is the wines which are produced here that have put Stellenbosch firmly on the world map. The town of Stellenbosch lies in the fertile valley of the Eerste or First River. The setting is panoramic, surrounded by a monumental crescent of Sierra-like mountains, towering in the background. The views from the wineries across the mountainous Western Cape are breathtaking. Those who first saw the potential of this location as a wine-producing land, with its warm Mediterranean climate, good soils and good drainage, were the early French settlers. These original farmsteads soon grew into renowned, prosperous wineries. You can see the French origins in the names of many estates, such as Lanzerac, Le Bonheur, Le Riche. A variety of subsoil types and microclimates in the region, combined with the blessing of cool ocean breezes, led to the successful planting of a range of European grape cultivars. 3 centuries on, Stellenbosch is at the center of much that is innovative and groundbreaking in the South African wine industry. With over 300 wine farms and 15,000 hectares of vineyards, the quality wines produced here are commended in the global wine trade. Several have consistently won international awards. Today, the wine routes of Stellenbosch have become one of South Africa's most popular tourist attractions. The Stellenbosch winelands are divided into 5 geographical regions or subroutes, classified purely by the physical location of the vineyards. They are Stellenbosch Hills, Greater Siemensberg, Helderberg, Bottleray Hills and Stellenboschberg. But what about the wines themselves? The region produces both varietal wines and blends. The range and styles are huge, from light, graspy, crisp Sauvignon Blanc to some of the most powerful, gutsy pinotages. Even South African port is on the menu. Daily wine tastings, aided with notes and useful information from the estate staff, guided tours of the cellars led by experts, some qualified viticulturalists, and wine sales are available at the wine estates, most of which have an open-door policy Monday to Saturday. Some tastings are free. Some have a modest charge, 15 to 25 rand. You will find all of your tastings a fascinating and educational experience. Note, however, that some tastings and tours are by appointment only. You can check by referring to the Stellenbosch Wine Route guides available from the Tourism Information Bureau. This guidebook contains a directory including each estate, with their contact details and opening times. It's not just wine that you'll find in Stellenbosch. Several farms also produce dairy products, like Siemensberg shown here, and Fairview, famous for their high-quality cows and goat's milk cheeses. The Berkelder Wine Centre is a commercial operating wine cellar tunneled into the Papagaaieberg mountain, where wines are matured in the vast labyrinthine underground maturation cellars. It also houses a wine museum and a wine shop where you can choose from hundreds of wines from different estates. Guided tours of the cellars are available by appointment. If it's bubbles that you like, then this is the place to come. J.C. Leroux specializes exclusively in the production of sparkling Cape wines. Many of its wines are produced in the Cap Classique method. This is based on the traditional méthode champenoise from Champagne, whereby the wines are secondary fermented in the bottle. A guided tour of the cellars will take you through the traditional way of putting the fizz in the glass. The Blauwklippen Blue Rocks estate is proud of its heritage, which goes back to 1682. Be sure to visit Blauwklippen for an unforgettable winelands experience on this historic estate. The winery is particularly well known for its exceptional reds, specifically Zinfandel. But there is a lot more to enjoy than the wines. Other attractions include the stunning views, the Barouche restaurant, and horse-drawn carriage rides through the vineyards. Spier has to be the place to see if you're making just one hasty visit to Stellenbosch. This wine estate, with its extensive grounds and facilities, is a complete entertainment venue for the whole family. As well as the wine tasting, Spier has a summer theatre season hosted in its amphitheatre, a craft market, horse riding for the kids, picnics by the lake. Moyo, a traditional African boma or eating house where diners are entertained by musicians and witch doctors. If that's not enough, you can visit a fascinating rehabilitation center for cheetahs and birds of prey. Admittedly, not much to do with wine, but if you've never stroked a cheetah before, now's your chance. Another old illustrious estate dating from the late 17th century, Morgenhof sits on the slopes of the Siemensberg mountain. These are wines for wine lovers and connoisseurs. Its wines are exceptionally good quality, produced very much in a French pedigree, reflected by Morgenhof's owners, whose ancestry goes back to a 17th century French Huguenot family of settlers and even further to medieval France. As well as an excellent selection of red and white varietals and blends, Morgenhof also produces a sparkling Brut Reserve, Cape Port, a late harvest dessert wine, and a rosé, something for every palate. On its current list of recent vintages, no fewer than 4 wines have won prizes. Wherever there's wine, there's also invariably a brandy still or two. Van Rijn is a brandy cellar open to the public for tours through the distillery, which dates back to 1845, and the maturation cellars. Roll up your sleeves, get down and dirty, and pick your own strawberries at several farms, including the one shown here, Mooiberger. They taste better that way. Stellenbosch is very much a university town with a student population of over 20,000, almost 1/3 of its total population. Stellenbosch University enjoys a privileged status as the country's best-known and most prestigious academic institution, with an international reputation. The background to the university lies in one of the town's venerable education institutions, the Theological Seminary of the Dutch Reformed Church, shown here. It was built in 1859, forming the origin of the town's educational role. Further sowing the seeds of the university was the creation of the Stellenbosch Gymnasium in 1866, a public school. In the late 19th century, the Christian Marais Library was opened. Then the founding of a university at Stellenbosch was made possible by Jan Marais, who bequeathed the sum of £100,000, and the university was officially opened in 1918. The Hoofgebouw, shown here, is the university's main campus building. The university has a museum on Lowveld Street, housing both a permanent collection of art and African anthropological exhibits. The botanical gardens lie within the university campus, just behind the University Museum and Sasol Art Museum. The university is one of just 2 institutions in South Africa that offers a tertiary degree in viticulture. Take a break from the wine tasting and unwind in Stellenbosch with your favorite sport. There are unequaled sports opportunities in the region. From golf to mountaineering, hiking, mountain biking, canoeing, and extreme sports like hang gliding and paragliding. The Stellenbosch Golf Club, shown here, is near the town centre, and there are 6 others within an hour's drive: Devonvale, Erenvale, De Zaltse, Somerset West, Strand and Kuils River. Further information about sports and health spa facilities is available from the Stellenbosch Tourism Information Bureau. It is here, with these beautiful images, that Photos of Africa bids you adieu, hoping that we'll see you again soon in South Africa, a world in one country.
When we create Amarula, we let nature take its course. At our plantation, we let our trees grow wherever they choose. Our irrigation system is erratic but effective. Our temperature control is self-regulating. And when our most stringent tasters arrive and give us the nod, this exotic fruit is distilled and blended with cream to create a superior drink for those special moments. Amarula, the spirit of Africa.